transcending history and the world, a tale of souls and swords, eternally retold.
What is going on, everybody? Hope you're having a good morning, day, evening, or night. Even if you hate me, well, still good wishes. Today I present a topic inside Legacy of Cain Bloodwoman 2 that I have a lot to say about and break down my thoughts on that I don't see many people nor channels talk about, and that is the short but double-edged toxic chemistry between Cain and Umah that led to a dreadful fate. We dive inside the beloved Bloodwoman 2. Just kidding, but in my head canon universe, Bloodwoman 2 is beloved. Anyways, we will analyze through this side plot of whether or not was Umah right about Cain being a power-hungry tyrant that would even eventually turn on the vampire resistance, or did she misjudge him from brief conversations, situations, and even from stories that was told about him to her? Assuming if you're watching this video you already know what happens in this game, but in case you, for whatever, don't, and decided to still watch, well, there will be spoilers obviously. So yeah, Cain was defeated by the Seraphim Lord and has been in a sleeping coma for 200 years, and while he was in his deep sleep, Umah, who is a member of the Cabal, a vampire-resistant faction, has been watching over Cain for these many years, over these past 2 centuries, under the ruler of the Seraphim Lord, who is a Hilden, the rival race of the vampires. Vampires have either been eliminated or turned traitor to their own kind, so the vampire race has their backs against the wall. So for the secret vampire resistance, they are in need of a powerful ally to save their race. That ally is none other than Cain, who at this very moment, unlike the other vampires, his presence is completely undetected. As Cain awakens, the first person he sees, hears, and speaks to is Umah. Umah is essentially treated as a guide and tutorial for both Cain and the player. Early in the game, given information and knowledge on how times have changed of Nosgoth, the ins and outs on the city of Meridian, the Seraphim Lord, and how Cain's vampire lieutenants have sided with him. Umah lays all of this out to Cain in the beginning so that he helps the vampire resistance. Now this is honestly not that much of a concern to Cain, but lucky for Umah, Cain didn't need much convincing because he is driven by vengeance upon the Seraphim Lord and regaining his soul reaver. However, after being asleep for 200 years, Cain has become vastly weaker than before, so Umah is there to pretty much nurture Cain back to his strength, if that's the right way to put it. I don't know, honestly. And as you may know, this is a younger Cain inside the Blood Omen era. He is not like his older self in the Soul Reaver games and later Defiance, where he is wiser, humble, but deadly, and more aware of when he's at an advantage or a disadvantage, and shows some form of compassion to those close to him. No, this is a Cain when he was egotistical, ruthless, and well, selfish, and his arrogant attitude is most likely what led to him being defeated by the Seraphim Lord. Had he not underestimated him, he would have probably not rushed in without not noticing that the Seraphim Lord is using the Nexus Stone, making him immune to the Soul Reaver, and his attitude is definitely something Umah picks up on quick, but for right now doesn't think too far into it just yet. Umah's focus is guiding Cain to his next objective, training him to get him back into fight shape, basically helping him shake off the rust, and giving him a bit of history lessons on Meridian as a city, the glyph magics, the citizens, and the new reborn Seraphim faction. all in the first 3 chapters of the game. Now, many fans see Cain and Umah as a love interest, even considering the fact of what happens at the end of Umah's life. But for right now, there's nothing of that to be hinted at. But we will come back to this part later in the video because it is important to some degree. Now remember, and my bad if I keep repeating this, but bear with me. This is a young Cain. He is arrogant and narcissistic. He thinks very highly of himself. Therefore, he does not like being told what to do, where to go, being ordered around left and right. So he is starting to question Umah's orders. This is the first verbal conflict of the two. Nothing too crazy, but a foreshadowing of what's to occur later on.
Sanctuary, our headquarters. There you will find our leader.
Go here, go there. What do you take me for? Your errand boy?
You are not a general now, Cain. You are not in a position to demand. Go to Sanctuary and await me there. My orders are to investigate the industrial quarter in the north of the city. I will join you at Sanctuary and bring anything I discover.
I need answers, girl. I want the Sarafan Lord.
So do we all, Cain. But the time must be ripe, and you must be ready.
Do not make the mistake of underestimating me.
I don't. You are our last hope. I will not let you be wasted by premature action.
Where then is this sanctuary?
Nearby is the Red Raven pub. Speak with the tapster. She will tell you what to do.
Why did I obey her? Why?
Zoom ahead, end of chapter 3. Umah finally introduces Cain to the Cabal. Now Cain knew there would be fellow vampires. However, he did not anticipate on Vorador to not only be a part of it, but alive. That in itself is a whole topic in its own. Now off the rip, Cain and Vorador do not see eye to eye. They butt heads and Vorador makes it clear he does not trust Cain, and if Vorador has his trust issues about Cain, then perhaps it is not far-fetched to suggest that Umah, who is a lieutenant under Vorador, may have also had suspicions of Cain, maybe even before he woke up. We just don't know because this is early. Everything is still few and far between. So just before Chapter 3 ends, a beaten and battered member comes in to tell Vorador that Umah has been captured and taken to the Sarafan Keep from attempting to search the industrial quarters, but the Sarafan Keep is heavily guarded, so Cain will need to contact the Bishop of Meridian for safe passage into the Sarafan Keep.
I went to help her, but there were guards everywhere. I could not reach her. I heard them say she would be brought to the Sarafan Keep for public execution. No! Then the guards were upon me, and I was forced to flee. Forgive me for it.
We need her information.
We need to save her life, Cain.
Yes, of course. So, I am to rescue her, sire.
Our kind cannot approach the keep. We will be instantly discovered. You have the power to disguise your presence, but the chief entrance to the keep is far too heavily guarded. You must speak with the Bishop of Meridian.
A bishop lies with us.
The promise of immortality can be very persuasive for a bishop whose faith in an afterlife is wanting. The bishop knows a secret entrance to the Sarafan Keep. You will find him in the upper city. Tell him I sent you, and he will give you access to the keep.
And if Umah is dead when I reach her?
Then her discovery dies with her, and with it, our hope. Go now, Cain, and find the bishop. Umah's life depends on you.
What do you notice about these dialogue exchanges? Vorador is more concerned with rescuing Umah, whereas Cain is more interested in gathering the information they need to progress his quest, rather than Umah's life itself, and we'll further see this in Chapter 5, in which Chapter 5 I see as the deciding moment of the relationship between Cain and Umah. Barging into the Sarafan Keep, Cain finally finds Umah chained up in cage, guarded by glyph magic. He then asks Umah to tell him what she knows in case he cannot free her. This clearly did not sit right at all with Umah, rightfully so if I'm being completely honest.
Industrial quarter. Tell me in case I cannot free you.
Tell you now, before I am freed. What would you do in my place, Cain?
I would offer my rescuer a token of trust.
That information is for Vorador only.
Haven't I earned your confidence yet?
You have not rescued me yet.
Very well. I will return shortly.
Now this is where everything began to shift. The post-ending cutscene to chapter 5 is the downfall in the character relationship between Cain and Umah, because from this point on Umah does not see Cain as reliable anymore, and it can be noticeable whenever Cain is back at the Cabal's hideout. Umah will throw questionable remarks about Cain as if she doesn't trust him. This would be Umah's attitude related to Cain from this point on in the game. So let's skip a few chapters until we get back to the Cabal's hideout. So by the end of chapter 9, after Cain has helped Janos revert back to his real vampiric self, before both Cain and Janos return to the Cabal hideout, we see Umah and Vorador talking, and once again Umah is questioning Cain, getting the job done, questioning where he is and what he's doing, telling Vorador that she should have went on the mission with him. And when Cain returned with Janos after the first very sentence, Cain spoke. Umah questions what he was doing, and Cain is just like, I was doing what I was set out to do.
You should have sent me with him.
You were wounded.
There is no way to know where Cain has gone or what he is doing. Even you haven't been able to contact him.
Oh, there will be no time for any of us. Vorador, we need your counsel.
We were wondering where you were.
I've been doing what I said I would do.
There is definitely suspicious tension growing between Umah and Cain, more so on Umah's side, and these little remarks is a sneaky under-the-radar build-up for what is about to happen in Chapter 10. And what happens in Chapter 10 is where everything between them unfolds. At the docks, guarded by a lot of Seraphan, Cain sets out one step closer to reaching the Seraphan Lord and exacting his revenge. However, he is accompanied by Umah, and before they can start, Cain and Umah have a conversation. Umah questions Cain's plans on what he will do after he defeats the Seraphan Lord, and what will happen to the rest of the vampires. How will his rule differ from the Seraphan Lord? Cain answers, and this happens.
Tell me one thing, Cain, before we go in. If you do kill the Seraphan Lord and recover the Soul Reaver, what then?
You know the answer to that.
Tell me.
Then Meridian and all Nosgoth will become mine.
And the vampire resistance?
Well, you may do whatever you wish, of course.
Of course.
What?
Do you take me for a fool?
You dare!
Vorador has told me all your stories, Cain. He said that you would stop at nothing to achieve your great ambition, absolute power. And when you control Nosgoth, are we to believe that you would let us vampires live and do what we wish? We are the only ones who could stand in your way. No, you will have to hunt us down and kill us. And how is that different from the rule of the Seraphan Lord?
I will not defend or explain my actions to you, Umah. No one, not even you, will stand in my way.
I thank you, Cain, for giving us this chance to defeat the Hilden for all time. But you have done enough. I shall be the one to find and kill the Seraphan Lord, and Nosgoth shall belong to the vampires once again.
You fool. You have not the smallest chance of surviving such a battle. Now, give me the Nexus Stone, or I shall pry it from your thieving fingers as you convulse in death.
Now the beast shows his true nature, and so quickly, too. I wish it had been otherwise for us, Cain.
Umah, out of paranoia and trust issues, betrays Cain, snatching the Nexus Stone off of him and proceeding to stop the Seraphan Lord herself. However, this was a grave mistake on her part, not only running off on her own, but even worse, betraying Cain. And this chapter would be the end of Umah as she overestimated her ability to complete this. Bruised and cut up, fighting off Seraphan guards, Cain catches up to her She is dying and needs blood. She begs Cain for some of his blood.
Meet again, Umah.
Cain.
Yes, Cain. I thought you were to bring the Sarafan Lord to his knees.
I thought...
I know.
It seems... I was wrong. I could not carry the fight alone.
You were brave to try.
Cain, I'm dying.
Yes, you are.
I need your blood. Please, you can save me.
I know. Tell me, child, do you see me ruling Nosgoth?
Yes, I see it now.
And do you believe that Nosgoth rightly belongs to me?
I do. I believe it, Cain. Please.
Then you may die, knowing the truth.
No!
You should never have betrayed me. You could have been my queen.
Cain.
Now, you have left me alone.
Cain, feeling torn and betrayed, decided to end Umah's life, and this is the end of Cain and Umah's story together. Onwards, getting closer to the Sarafan Lord, Vorador contacts Cain and mentions Umah, and funny enough, Cain doesn't tell Vorador about Umah's fate. When Vorador and Janos reaches Cain, Vorador quickly notices Umah is not there. Vorador then takes the hint that she is dead, but Cain was blunt with Vorador, and he told him even worse news, that he killed Umah. This caused tension between Cain and Vorador, but it is interrupted with the main task, that being the Sarafan Lord.
Your will from my side, even Umah, your latest spy, is dead.
Umah. I have no spy called Umah.
You lie!
Now this dialogue right here does not get enough discussions, and in fact the dialogue itself upsets me, and how this claim of Umah being a spy for the Sarafan Lord is never elaborated on, confirmed or deconfirmed. I honestly don't think Umah was a spy for him. Umah was very loyal to the vampires and Vorador. She also understood that the Sarafan Lord, if he succeeds, he will eliminate the vampires that work with him anyways. So I doubt Umah affiliated with him. In fact, the Sarafan Lord confirms this himself. He doesn't even know Umah. I think Cain is distraught at how Umah turned on him, so now this leads to him questioning her, ultimately creating a series of trust issues between the two. Now we dissect whether or not Umah was right to not trust Cain, and I have to say, Umah did in fact misjudge Cain. She began to believe if Cain reigned supreme, she applied his rule would not be any different than the Sarafan Lord, so much so that when Cain wins, he would then take out the vampires around as well, and this is simply not true. Cain may have been a self-centered prick, but as long as they were on his side, he would not have killed them. It's ironic that Umah thought aligning with Cain would be her death, but it was her becoming his enemy that would result in her death. And just in case it gets brought up, when Cain does what Cain does in Soul Reaver by casting Raziel in the Abyss, remember Soul Reaver 1 wants the audience to see Cain as the antagonist, therefore wants Raziel, and the players believe Cain clipped his wings and threw him out of sheer jealousy. But there is a lot of context behind that. There's a deeper reason behind it rather than just Cain being jealous at Raziel evolving wings. So had to chime in on that just in case brought up. Another factor to bring in, Umah tells Cain Vorador told her all about his cruel history, which was also a flawed source. Because let's be honest, how much of Cain as a person does Vorador know? I mean, they did not have many moments together in Blood Omen 1. Yes, Cain rejected the sacrifice at the end, which through time is going to decay Nosgoth. But we have not reached that point yet. We are still in the Blood Omen era, so Nosgoth is still fairly normal. Also, Vorador died before that choice was made anyways. In that regard, let's not forget Cain was practically used in killing all the other Guardians. only for Ariel to tell him after all that he is the balance guardian and must kill himself for the pillars in Nosgoth to be fully restored. So Vorador himself probably doesn't fully know Cain on a personal level, and that's the issue here with Umah going off of someone else's perspective. However, I will say this, Umah being paranoid and having trust issues of Cain is totally understandable. Again, going back to chapter 5, that's where everything changed, and I said Cain did not really seem concerned with Umah's life of being captured. Cain has one goal, and that's defeating the Sarafan Lord and reclaiming the Soul Reaver. But when Umah seen that Cain cared more about what she knew rather than freeing her, that's what ended it all right there. Cain became a red flag to her, and I completely understand that, because in that situation, I would probably look that person sideways too afterwards. So it's actually easy how she lost trust in Cain. He is a flawed person, he is selfish in objectives, but Cain had plans after defeating the Sarafan Lord. And remember in the beginning where I touched on the love interest fans associated these two with, well, it is because Cain says after he ends Umah's life, she could have been his queen. He would have put her by his side as his soulmate in his rule and taken a moment to think about Cain's journey. He was used and lied to by his fellow guardians. His own vampire lieutenants betray him outside of Magnus, whose mind was taken from him, and now Umah turns on him and deems him not trustworthy, when it is Cain himself who has been wrongly backstabbed several times. And I believe Cain did not expect Umah to do that to him. I believe Cain felt Umah was the one person he could finally trust with loyalty. I really love the ending, where in Cain's final monologue, he brings up Umah, and I know it's not like they had a long life history with each other, but it shows the impact that Umah left on him.
What was it she said to me in that fatal moment when she took from me the Nexus Stone? How would my rule differ from that of the Sarafan Lord? If you had lived, Umah, you would have learned the difference. You should have trusted me.
I say this a lot, but I think it's unfortunate we only got one game of Umah as of current games, aside from her deleted role in Defiance. I would love to see her return. All in all, I actually think Umah was a good, sincere vampire that meant well amongst her people, and although she mistaken Cain's intentions, Umah was right about Cain's careless actions and narcissistic demeanors. Let's be honest, everybody. Let's truly be honest. It would have been interesting to see how Cain and Umah's relationship would have played out post Blood Omen 2, all the way to older Cain, where Umah could have saw the character development in Cain's mindset that we witnessed by Soul Reaver. So that's all for the video. If you want more Legacy of Cain content, please do so subscribe. I kinda hate asking that, it feels weird to be honest, but just as importantly, comment down what you think. I want to know your input on this topic. I always want to know how others feel between what happened with these two. What do you think? Give your thoughts. I want to hear them. I love engaging in these conversations with all of you. Have a good day and take care.